Welcome back to the Lenz Comic Corner, Classic, Non-Classics. This is episode number 1619, Doubleshot number 1513. I have two DC crossovers. Well, first is the mini-series for the crossover that came out in 2015, roughly 6 years ago. And this crossover came out a period of 2 months. What book is this? Convergence. Yes, Convergence. A book that's got very good artwork, mind you. Yes, I love the artwork here. And, well, this book does contain the entire limited series, issues 0 through 8. Roughly like a 9-issue limited series, mostly. And the thing with this particular series is, this came as basically a follow-up to both New 52 Futures End and Earth 2 World's End. This is basically the very next story. Or the surviving heroes of Earth 2, mostly just the Alan Scott Green Lantern, Yamez, who is the Avatar of the Red, Dick Grayson, Thomas Wayne, aka Batman, Val Zod, who was also Superman. I'm trying to think. I believe the Huntress also survived too, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of Power Girl, and I think that's it. Yep, so they are transported to the planet Telos. Yes, basically, that's how we start. We start with we start with the post-Flashpoint Superman, where he counters Brainiac. But the version of Brainiac that pops up here is the one that popped up in New 52 Futures End, and plus we have various Brainiacs over the years who pop up in this very issue, per se. Now, this whole limited series is mostly done by, if I can find the creative team here. There's a few writers in this book. You have Jeff King, Scott Lobdell, Dan Jurgens, and that's it. But Jeff King is the main writer of this book. And issue 0 is all about Superman. This, of course, is written by Dan Jurgens. The artwork is done by Ethan Skyver. And here we go. This is Brainiac from New 52 Futures End. You have various stuff related to Superman over the years, which I love this image. It's like Dan Jurgens basically remembers all this stuff really well. And then Superman breaks out of the reality, he sees himself get clean shaven. And then we run into various Brainiacs. First up, it is the Earth 1 Brainiac. Yep, the one from Earth 1. Yeah, this actually was Brainiac when he first showed up in the comics back in the 60s. And then we have Brainiac of the mid-1980s, just before Crisis of Infinite Earths. Yep. Yeah, he decided to go with this look for some reason. And then we have the Jeff Johns look. I believe, if I remember correctly, I think it was John Byrne who gave him this look. This is more of the definitive version of Brainiac, because of various robots over the years of Brainiac. And then at the end of issue 0, we have debut of Telos. Yes, this being, whose only appearance is this very miniseries, the tie-ins, and his own ongoing series. And that is it for the character. So, basically, after seeing these three people, then we see the premise of it. Look, we see Gotham City under a dome. Yes, that is a big thing with Convergence. Various different cities throughout all different realities are transported to this desert planet. And then here's the Earth 2 superheroes. Here's all the Earth 2 superheroes. Now, basically, the book doesn't show it here, but these are the following Earths you see in this particular world. You see, it's not showing this here, but showing the tie-ins. You see various different Gotham cities and metropolises, even Atlanta. Yes, the Atlanta show here is not the Atlanta probably in DC Comics at that point in time. No, this one's from the very brief ongoing series, Hex. This was the series where Jonah Hex, the Western gunslinger, was transported to a post-apocalyptic future. You have him take a bunch of weird creatures in the future. We also have Kamandi show up here. Let's see. You also have several the original Earth 2. Well, first you had Dick Grayson. I think it was in the Convergence, the Detective Comics, who actually wore his original costume he wore in Earth 2, which simply was the Batman costume with the R on it without the cowl. That's what he wore. He was still referred to as Robin, despite the fact he could have been Batman at this point. He also had gray in his hair. And of course, you have one with, of course, that miniseries also include the Huntress. We also include various other realities like the Red Rain Batman, the pre-Flashpoint Superman, which my friend Tivia loves that miniseries, Convergence Superman, which is written by Dan Jurgens and art by Lee Weeks. And of course, this very same creative team would do an ongoing series afterwards. I'll get to that. Let's also have the Outsiders, the Titans, and there's a bunch of them, per se. There's even one for Flash, per se. None of these tie-ins are terrible. No, none of them are. Excuse me. In case you might be curious, though, am I going to review these at some point? Yes. Yes, I will. Even the main miniseries, but and of course, you also relate. You also from the reality as Flashpoint. This technically is the first time Flashpoint has been shown since the original miniseries. And after this miniseries wraps up, next time you see Flashpoint, the reality is the brief, the very tiny, the very brief crossover that's really good, done by Tom King and Josh Williamson, The Button, or it's a crossover between the Flash and Batman. It's really good. I love that crossover. And throughout this, basically, we have like various different aside. And pretty much here's the thing. That we have 2 issues for each miniseries. Every single second issue had this sneak preview in it. What was a sneak preview? Basically what we expect for a lot of the ongoing series that came just afterwards. Like a lot of the ongoing series, even a lot of the miniseries. There was a lot of these books. And by the way, how long were these sneak previews? Like about maybe 5 or 6 pages. It's basically a lot of setup for what we see later on, these story arcs that came right afterwards. That's simply what the purpose of them was. And if you're curious, though, the one thing I thought was really interesting about about the tie-ins was that it gave writers who worked on them a chance to wrap up less plot threads. Yes, because from what I've heard, the New 52, when the relaunch happened, it came completely out of the blue. It just came all of a sudden. It was so abrupt that a lot of writers never got a chance to wrap up their plot thread. Like, a lot of the stuff they really wanted to do, like, there was some plot threads of hanging, but New 52 basically screwed that up. And these tie-ins actually saved it. But in the case of the main miniseries itself, there's not a lot of meat you say would happen in this main miniseries. No, but there is a major death in here. We see the death of the second Earth 2 Batman. Yes, Thomas Wayne is killed in this miniseries, and he's replaced by Dick Grayson, who become Batman even by the time Earth 2 Society. He basically is the main Batman for that entire series until like the final issue where he retires and hands the mantle to basically his predecessor's granddaughter, Helena, who becomes new Batman. Despite the fact when she showed up in Infinite Frontier, she's back with Huntress again. I thought that was kind of weird. This up here related to Warlord. His wife is briefly killed in this series. His arch nemesis Deimos is here. Yeah, he's here for like roughly 3 issues. Brainiac is easily defeated. Well, one version of Brainiac. And then eventually, after all this is wrapped up, they need to send everybody back. But they can't exactly yet because Barry Allen and the Earth 1 Supergirl have to die. Again! Yes, as basically a nod to the original Crisis of Earths. I believe both these two died in issue 8 of the original limited series, done by Marv Wolfman and George Perez. So, they go back, and along with keeping Superman, Lois, and John, along with Parallax. Yes, Parallax. I'll get to that. So, and all the other cities are sent back to where they were. And, oh yeah, and here's the interesting thing though. One of the things that DC hyped about this thing was return to pre-Flashpoint. And having those characters meet New 52 characters. Did not happen. That was a big fat lie. Yes, that was one of the things that was teased and hyped up for this limited series. But that never happened. It's like, basically, the left hand did not know what the right hand was doing. Yes. We also have stuff related to this. Yeah, one big case of this is frickin' Wave Rider. Yes. Yeah, he shows up here too. In like the final issue of this thing. Let's see if I can find him here. Yeah, it's almost like basically when I kind of forgot Wave Rider showed up here. Yeah, Wave Rider, in case you don't know, is actually supposed to be Booster Gold. Well, this version, anyways, does not have. It's like the editor of this book did not know what the heck Wave Rider is supposed to look like, because there's Wave Rider right there. That's him. This is him right here. That's Wave Rider. His look is completely different from when he popped up in Convergence Booster Gold. Well, here's a fun fact about that one, and this one had balls to do this. Pre-Flashpoint Booster Gold meets post-Flashpoint Booster Gold. And a lot of you thinking, why the heck could we not have this happen in a lot of the other books? Don't know. Jurgens created both versions of the characters, so it makes sense. In the case of the one from New 52, that one basically had the Argus logo on his sleeve. And that happened in the Booster Gold book, which I will get to eventually covering that. And after, of course, Brainiac decides to send all these people back home, eventually, of course, we get several spin-offs in this book. By the way, I get this main event. Despite they have good artwork, it felt like though a lot of story was missing here, per se. And I don't blame the trade for that. I blame the original miniseries for that. I'm going to be nice, so I give it a 7 out of 10. What came after this? A lot of really interesting stuff here. Telos got a brief ongoing series. Superman and Lois got an ongoing series that lasted for 8 issues before being canceled. And then, of course, that story was continued in the pages of Superman and Action Comics. As Parallax, oh boy, this guy. Okay, he pops up toward the end of Robin Venditti run for Green Lantern Volume 5. Fights Hal Jordan once, in the middle of Central City. Coal City, excuse me. Then he disappears. Never seen again. I never got a chance to ask, basically, Venditti, what the heck was the plans with Parallax? It's like he shows up for one story, he shows up for like a couple issues of Green Lantern, and that's it. Like, he fights post-Flashpoint Hal Jordan, and then he disappears. Parallax is never seen again. It's almost like, what was the point of bringing in Parallax if you're going to do nothing with the character? Yeah, he was practically the only thing that came out of this that went nowhere. Of course, we had a new Batman Beyond ongoing series done by Dan Jurgens. We had Earth 2 Society, originally done by Daniel Wilson, and then, of course, taken over by Dan Abnett with issue number 8. There's some good, some bad. I would say the only thing that I personally didn't like very much was Telos. Telos, I kind of felt as though with that one, which, by the way, they had Parallax show up in that one, too. The thing with that was, it felt as the story was incomplete by the time the series abruptly ended. And I kind of get the reason why the series got canceled so quickly. Nobody cares about Telos. It's like, they created this character and they give him an ongoing series, and the readers don't care about this character. Which I am on the side of that, because I didn't give a damn about Telos. I only reviewed the trade because I wanted to basically get my thoughts on this series. Is it a terrible series? No, it's just that Telos himself is not the interesting character. That's the thing about it. And I think it's up with Warlord that was really cool in here. That's one of the cool aspects about this series. But I kind of thought this book was mostly a disappointment at best. Basically also for lying to people about it. Alright, going from that disappointing crossover to a good one. We jump ahead 5 years later to an event that came out just last year, during which another crossover was going on DC at the time. Dark Knight Death Metal. This is Justice League Endless Winter. an in-name sequel to a crossover from the 1990s. What crossover was that? Final Night. And you're probably asking, Nick, who the heck wrote Final Night? Well, you're about to find out. Yeah, it was basically the whole point of that miniseries was that, well, the sun was about to go out and we had Parallax having basically sacrificed himself. Yeah, this is done by Carl Kitzler. Yes, a classic comic book writer, and Stuart Immonen. As far as I can tell for the two of them, Stuart Immonen is still doing artwork this very day. Yes. Well, I would probably say his most recent book he worked on. Let's see. I would say from Marvel, the most recent book he worked on was Amazing Spider-Man. Yep, he worked on Amazing Spider-Man. The Dan Slott issues. Yep, that was his most recent Marvel work. For DC, his last work he did for DC, mostly he worked back in the 90s. I would say the last thing he worked on was Superman Secret Identity, which came out in 2004. Yes, 2004. So for DC, it's been roughly 17 years. For Marvel, it's been 3 years, per se. Not really sure exactly why he hasn't done much of anything. But the guy is a really good artist. Now, in the case of this, we have the Frost King basically freezing the world. So the Justice League has to go and try to stop him. Of course, parents here by Black Adam, who, by the way, they kind of get rid of this. They kind of briefly seal him up, though he does come back, and Brian Michael Bendis is run for Justice League. And the only thing unfortunate about this crossover is that we have the ending of 2 ongoing series. For no reason. We have the ending of Aquaman. Now, the Aquaman issue I found to be quite interesting. Because with that issue, it confirms something with this issue that people have thought for years about Aquaman and Mera. That they are married. They have a kid together. And I think the only reason why this was allowed to happen because Dan DiDio doesn't work at DC anymore. Nope, he doesn't work there anymore. So this is allowed to happen. Yes, the wedding of Aquaman and Mera. Something people have wanted to see for almost 10 years because people thought, though, that retconning the fact these two weren't married was stupid. Really stupid. Luck of Killer Sue Hong basically fixed that. Though the final issue was not done by them. Oh no. This whole event is written by 2 guys and they write the whole thing. This crossover is mostly 2 bookend one-shots of Justice League Endless Winter 1 and 2. We also have Flash 767. We'll talk about this one. Superman Endless Winter, Aquaman 66, the final issue of Aquaman Volume 8. Justice League 58. Teen Titans Endless Winter Special Number 1. Justice League Dark 29. The final issue of Justice League Dark Volume 2. And Black Adam Endless Winter. This is done by Andy Lenny and Ron Martz. Fun fact about this particular book. This actually was Ron Martz's first return to comics in years. Yes. Like, it is so cool the fact he wrote this. I mean, I love this guy's work. Yes. And here's the thing. Prior to this event coming out, the last time he worked on anything at DC was Voodoo. And that was like 9 years. It was like 8 years before this. That was the last book he did for DC. Marvel, in case you're curious, he has done some work Marvel, but he has not worked at Marvel since, get this, 1998. Yes, seriously. What has he mostly done? Well, I should point out this guy was also one of the guys behind Witchblade. A very good. I loved his run for Witchblade. It was really good. Yeah, it introduced the fact that Witchblade actually had a love interest. Finally. Mm-hmm. Oh, actually, no, scratch. Before Voodoo, before this book, last book he worked on was 2 miniseries for Convergence. He worked on Convergence, Batman and Robin, and Convergence, Justice League International. Yep, that was the last thing he worked on. But in the case of Andy Lanning, for instance, he of course had not done much of anything. No, not really. It's almost like though that, like as soon as he stopped working with Dan Abney, he pretty much did practically like really nothing. No, seriously, the guy has done virtually nothing. Yeah. So, now in the case of, I should talk about the Flash tie-in. The Flash tie-in is completely pointless. It basically doesn't really much do with Alice Winter. It just Flash basically noticing the Winter world, and then he gets separated from Iris, and then he gets somehow ends up in Korak, which is Black Adam's country, mind you. He's taking a pause. It's like, man, you have nice sheets. Yes, he actually knows the fact that the bed's in. He's got nice sheets, and he notes this to his host, Black Adam. Here's a weird thing about Black Adam post Flashpoint. There's no mention of his smoking hot wife, Isis. Yeah, Isis, his wife. Who is not seen here for some reason. Don't know why. Though at the end of this event, something really weird happened with Black Adam. He got sealed in the Rock of Eternity despite the fact he got freed by the time that Bendis started went for Justice League. Yes. In the case of Justice League Dark, it's mostly what they were up to during all this stuff going on. They got to take a hand in this too. Now, as for the placement of this, you could say this is just before Dark Knight Death Metal, because at the time, I think when this ongoing event concluded, that was during the same period of time that Wonder Woman apparently died in the final issue for Dark Knight Death Metal. And this book, pretty much in a way, like, also in the case of Teen Titans, that followed from right after the end of the Teen Titans ongoing series, mostly puts what they were up to just prior to, like just after that ongoing series wrapped up. What happened? They moved into Titans Tower, Manhattan. Yep, they did. Oh, and here's a little fun factor for you. I think in a recent issue of Flash, they actually had the version of the San Francisco branch of the Titans, the Titans Tower in San Francisco, actually make a brief appearance in the issue, which I thought was really cool. It's mostly settling in and basically just waiting for something to cool down related to this whole thing. Frost King is basically the main villain of this whole event, and I like the fact they did this whole thing. It's weird though that they did this the same year as Dark Knight Death Metal. As a matter of fact, this was going the same period of time as this thing. Yeah, this went on for like a month. Yes, a frickin' month. And, like, Dark Knight Death Metal started in June of last year and didn't wrap up until January of this year. Yep, it's weird though the fact that the final issue of this event came out in basically, well, there was a few tie-in stuff related to this Dark Knight of Metal release in December. At the same time this event was going on. It's weird though they had two events going at the same time, which that was kind of weird. Now, this is probably the first DC done this in years, because usually when they do events, they usually have two events going at the same exact time. I would probably say prior to this, the last they had this happen was probably in 2010 when they had Brightest Day going on. Yeah. But this event, really good. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And with this, Justice League is pretty much up to when it comes to reviews. Yep, this book a 9.5 out of 10. Now, I've already discussed my final thoughts on Aquaman Volume 8 and Justice League Dark Volume 2. My opinion still stands. DC should not have canceled these two books. These books were good. Like, Justice League Dark didn't have a bad issue throughout its entire run. And I'm like, okay, why the heck would you end this book for? Though, of course, Justice League Dark is still around as a backup feature in Justice League. Give them a book again. But in the case of Aquaman, he doesn't do very much. Like, as soon as this thing wrapped up, what does he do? Excuse me. Well, he appears in Justice League, and there was also a few miniseries related to him. Well, You have Aquaman Becoming, which focuses on Jackson Hyde, the current Aqualad. There is Black Manta, and Aquaman and Green Arrow Deep Dive, which that miniseries was meant to celebrate the 80th anniversary debut of Aquaman and Green Arrow. Who, fun fact, made a debut in the same exact issue. More Fun Comics 73. Yep. But not much to say about these two trades. Endless Winter is good. I love it. I think that Ron Martz and Andy Lanning did an absolutely fantastic job with this book. If you're curious to who did the artwork for this event, there's like a ton of different artists here. Okay, listing off. Here are your artists for this event. Howard Porter, Marcus Soretti, Clayton Henry, Phil Huster, Andy Parks, Miguel Messina, Ex Michio, Jesus Moreno, Cam Smith, Amanda Clay Nempa, Brand Pearson, and Carmine De Camillo. In case you're curious, though, this cover art, this is done by Mikkel Jenin. Yep, he does this really good cover art here. Yep. Oh, if you're curious to what the actual inside cover looks like, this is what it looks like. Yeah, it's just basically the Justice League in their Endless Winter garb, which I thought was really cool. I think this cover image is sort of a minor nod to Brave of the Bold number 28. Yeah, which was the debut of the Justice League. But yeah, it's a really good fun mini event per se. Or it's like, okay, you have like a few, you have like, I think it's like 1, 2, 3, like 4 issues of ongoing series and a bunch of one-shots. It's weird though Superman didn't have a tie to. It's like an issue from his ongoing series. Well, I guess I don't know the reason why for that. Bendis probably don't want anything to do with this event. Nope. Teen Titans. I get the reason why you had a special for them in this winter. The series just ended for them. And if you read this Endless Winter book, it's written to be a heck of a lot better than what Adam Glass was doing for Teen Titans. Justice League, well, it's definitely a continuation with Josh Williamson, the style he was doing for Justice League. Dark, I think was still pretty good. I didn't think that, though, like I keep saying, the book had no reason to get canceled. Nope, not really. There is no reason for the book to be canceled. Not really, no. Yep, so yeah, that's it for particular review. Stay tuned for the next review of the next 2 episodes for Welcome Demon School Rimacon. Okay, next video. Bye.